In a world where injustice had become the norm, a spark was lit. A hashtag Black Lives Matter, was created by three courageous women, Patrisse Cullors, Alicia Garza, and Opal Tometi. This simple yet powerful phrase would become the catalyst for a movement that would change the course of history. The year was 2013, and the acquittal of George Zimmerman had ignited a fire that would spread far and wide. The acquittal of George Zimmerman was a devastating blow to the family of Trayvon Martin. The verdict sparked widespread outrage, and the question on everyone's mind was, how could this happen? The feeling of injustice was palpable, and it was clear that something needed to be done. The death of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, was the spark that ignited a firestorm of protests across the country. The people had had enough, and they were demanding justice. The cry of Black Lives Matter echoed through the streets, as the nation came to a standstill. As the protests spread across the country, the three founders of the Black Lives Matter movement, Patrisse Cullors, Alicia Garza, and Opal Tometi, 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 Opal Tometi. The Black Lives Matter movement was gaining momentum, with protests and rallies taking place in cities across the country. The message was clear: it was time for a change. The people were demanding justice, equality, and an end to systemic racism. As the movement grew, the memory of Michael Brown and other victims of police brutality was not forgotten. The people came together to remember and honor their lives, and to continue the fight for justice and equality. But not everyone was supportive of the Black Lives Matter movement. Some police officers and their supporters saw the movement as a threat, and they pushed back against the demands for change. The death of Freddie Gray in Baltimore was another spark that ignited protests and outrage. The people were demanding justice, and they would not be silent. As the movement grew, community leaders and activists came together to plan and strategize. They were determined to bring about real change and to create a better future for their communities. The death of George Floyd in Minneapolis was a devastating blow to the community. The people came together to demand justice and to honor the memory of George Floyd. The verdict in the George Floyd case was a milestone in the fight for justice. The people had demanded accountability, and they had finally received it. As the movement continued to grow, the memory of George Floyd and other victims of police brutality was not forgotten. The people came together to remember and honor their lives, and to continue the fight for justice and equality. The Black Lives Matter movement had become a global phenomenon, with protests and rallies taking place in cities around the world. The message was clear: it was time for a change. As the movement continued to grow, community leaders and activists came together to plan and strategize. They were determined to bring about real change and to create a better future for their communities. The Black Lives Matter movement had come a long way, but there was still much work to be done. The people would continue to fight for justice and equality, and to honor the memories of those who had lost their lives in the struggle.